The key to biohacking is understanding that your body doesn't do a very good job of listening to you. It listens to the world around you. If you want to do personal development, you want to meditate, you want to improve your brain, doing it on French fries doesn't work. You have to get your biology in order.
There's a set of studies that show if you go for a walk for 20 minutes a day, that increases mitochondrial function. That's it.
Need motivation?
Watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 for my top 10, top 10, 9. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because chances are you are the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Dave Asprey, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Eliminate suspect foods.
The key to biohacking is understanding that your body doesn't do a very good job of listening to you. It listens to the world around you, and it listens to what it perceives to be threats. So one of the things that chews up the most energy throughout the day is actually thinking and obsessing about food. So what if you could do something that made it so that after you finished a meal, you didn't think about food until the next meal. And even when the next meal came around, you're like, I could eat or not. But it wasn't like, will there be tacos for lunch? Is it lunchtime yet? Is it lunchtime yet? And that voice that most of us have in our head, it's unnecessary and it's hugely distracting from all the things that are more important. So how do you do that? The first thing you do is you say, all right, how did I feel after my last meal? And if you're hungry within a half hour or an hour of your meal, guess what? You did it wrong. It means you ate something that is actually causing inflammation in your body. It means you found a food that's incompatible with your system. And it turns out there is no one universal diet for human beings. There are basic rules. And the first rule is stop eating the stuff that makes you weak. And in the Bulletproof diet, this is my book that sold somewhere around 500,000 copies in 17 languages. There's a roadmap, and it's free. It's on the Bulletproof website, Bulletproof Roadmap. You can look for it. And what it does, it tells you, okay, here are the proteins and fats and carbs and vegetables that are generally safe. They don't cause problems for almost anybody. Here's the set of things called suspect foods. And you know what? For a lot of people, these cause problems. Would you believe a third of people can't digest kale and it makes them have sugar cravings? Right? Or tons of people, it's grains and beans and legumes or bell peppers and the nightshade family or potatoes or tomatoes. You wouldn't know it, but if you're eating this every day, you're going to constantly be foggy, tired, have a little bit of muffin top, and it's just your condition. People don't know that a third of rheumatoid arthritis is caused by basically potatoes and tomatoes. But what? Yeah. Well, since you don't know that, what if you just stopped all of that stuff for just a week? And at the end of the week, you're like, whoa, the sky is brighter. I like my life. I like my wife. And my joints don't hurt, and I just realized I should start a company. Maybe something you were doing before in that list of suspects was actually guilty. And then there's also a list of kryptonite foods, and these are things like, don't eat those. Yeah. Like you wanted to show up all the way in the world, that's not for humans. And so eliminate the suspect foods for a week. That's one biohack.
Rule number 2, learn from elders.
In all societies that I studied, and it's in like the first chapter of Superhuman, I talk about the quest for immortality is something that's happened as long as we've had recorded history, going back to the Egyptians, going back to the alchemists, going back to the Hindu traditions, the Chinese traditions, the South American traditions. They've all been searching for this. Mm-hmm. And things like Taoism are tied directly towards that quest for how do I live forever as a highly functioning, highly energetic, evolved person. Well, we've always had village elders. So what would happen is the young monks would go into the monastery and the 80-year-old lama would look at them and say, all right, here's what we've learned. And I learned this from my elders and I learned it from my elders. In fact, Lao Tzu's tradition, 5,000 years of unbroken oral history passed down from the elders. Mm-hmm. Well, elders today, unfortunately, a lot of them, Alzheimer's disease, heart attacks, retirement homes. And we started seeing our elders rather than as sources of knowledge and wisdom, the people who can guide us the best. We started seeing them as tubes, monitors, diapers, wheelchairs, and expenses. And that's actually never happened.
Great observation, yeah.
All of history it hasn't happened.
Great observation.
So I go out of my way to interview people who are over 90 because, man, they've got 50 years on me. And what did they learn that I'm probably going to learn? And what pain can I avoid from listening to them?
Rule number 3, exercise.
I looked at all the research on mitochondria and exercise, like what's going to make them stronger, what's not going to make them stronger. There's a set of studies that show if you go for a walk for 20 minutes a day, that increases mitochondrial function. That's it.
That's it. 20 minutes.
Now, that's one set of studies. You can go for longer, but if you go for too long, you actually can stress them out, which isn't a good thing. So, if you're going to every day go for, a 2-hour run without recovery, it's the lack of recovery that really messes up your energy system. Right. So you see a lot of people who are type A entrepreneurs like you or me, where, we like to go
all night.
Yeah. And they're like, and on top of that, I'm going to run the Kona Ironman and I'm going to do it without sleep just because I could. Right. So you push like that. And I've certainly done that, in my early career in tech, the company that held Google's first servers and things like that. I'm like, why would you burn the candle at both ends when you could also light the middle? Right. Right. It's so bad for you. And it's bad for you because it breaks your mitochondria. Like they get stressed like that and they communicate with each other. Right. And they do that with, they do it with chemicals, and we believe that they probably do it with light as well, which is really interesting. If those theories are proven, and I would bet right now that they will be, we know that these little parts of your cells make lights the same way an LED light does. They literally make little photons and they receive photons. So a set of scientists are proposing that that's how mitochondria talk, which is why if you're beating up your muscles all the time, you're going to be tired in your head because the whole system of these bacteria that are interacting, and they're not bacteria anymore, they're part of our cells. They're called organelles, but they still have that little bit of bacterial behavior that's built in and that allows us to be who we are and what we are. So it's fascinating.
And go ahead. Sorry.
The other exercise, just so so people listening, I don't leave them going. I just have to go for a walk once or maybe twice a week, but certainly once a week, you need to kick your ass. And there's 2 ways to do it. And these are actually both in the Bulletproof diet too, because we knew they worked, but we didn't understand the mitochondrial part of that back then. One is intermittent sprinting. Just basically sprint for 60 seconds. And there's a neat trick in Headstrong that's not in the first book. And I got this from John Gray,
the Men Are From Mars?
Yeah.
Okay.
That guy, he is a crazy biohacker. You would not know this from reading his books about relationships. No, he goes deep. So we got to be friends. And he's like, Dave, after you sprint, instead of walking, lay on your back. Just lay down, like the way you'll see in a CrossFit gym, people just kill themselves and lay down. Yeah, there's a reason they're doing that. They're not doing it because they know the reason. They're doing it because they felt the urge and that was their instinct.
Whenever I would do CrossFit and lay down, it's because I couldn't breathe. And I was just like,
well, that's the body's natural response. So if you want to increase the height and the trough, which is what you're doing, you're telling these guys, you better be ready to just bring it all at once. You're training the battery in your body to totally have a high voltage and then stop. So
you should stop and go on your back. You shouldn't keep walking.
Yeah, at least sit down, better yet lay down.
Really?
For a minute and then get up and sprint again and then lay down. And this is what animals will do, right?
Huh, that's true.
And it's amazing what a difference that is. So that's one way you kick your ass. The other way is lift heavy things for 15 minutes or less and don't stop. Keep the muscles engaged the entire time. Don't stop at the top, don't stop at the bottom. As heavy as you can. And
while stretching and warming up properly.
Why would you do that?
Exactly.
Yeah, I do my warm ups on the Bulletproof vibe. I'm vibrating when I do that.
Sure.
And I do that vibration stuff every day, or I go for a walk. But quite often I'm on the phone, and I'm in Canada. It's dark and raining.
You're in Vancouver, right? Yeah,
I'm Vancouver Island. So I'm on an organic farm.
Rule number 4: push yourself.
One of the things you learn if you go to any ancient practice lineage, look, we're all going to die. And even when I talk to my immortalist friends, those super longevity, I'm going to upload myself to the internet. Newsflash, the universe will collapse in on itself sometime. We're all going to die. You just have to get used to that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I don't want to, sorry, that's just a fact of life.
100%.
The question is, how much suffering do you want to do before you die? That's really what we're doing. And for me, I actually don't like suffering. It's amazing. But discomfort is different than suffering. So anytime you do something that makes your brain or your body evolve, it will involve discomfort. But suffering comes when you resist the discomfort. And understanding, all right, I'm feeling a lot of emotional discomfort right now, but it doesn't mean I'm suffering. It doesn't mean I'm struggling. It means I'm accepting and, all right, it's a signal. So I'm lifting this heavy thing. I'm really sore the next day. that was the cost of growth. Or I'm facing my fears and I'm doing it anyway, and I feel like I'm going to shit my pants and I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm going to see what happens. That's how our brain evolves. We're wired to do to focus on things that don't push us.
Yes.
Because that's biology.
Yes.
Well, once you decide you're going to take charge and you're going to push yourself, you say, all right, maybe I will live to 180. Maybe I'll live beyond 180. Or maybe I'll just, ask someone out who I'm really afraid to ask out. Why the hell are you afraid to ask someone out? The worst they'll do is say no. It's the same as saying, look, do you like pizza or Chinese? Okay. If they say, I like pizza, you're like, darn, I like Chinese. We're not compatible. It's not a judgment on you, but if you don't ask, you don't know.
Yeah.
But people, they have all this crazy programming in their heads. I got rid of most of my crazy programming just through these processes. And I don't think I could have had the power to do that if I hadn't have just gotten my base biology working with food. And so we get wrapped up in all these fears and resistance things. But really, the simplest, lowest hanging fruit here is just eat the stuff that makes your brain work. And then you'll start being comfortable pushing yourself. Otherwise, you're just too tired to push yourself.
Also, if you want to have more self-confidence and self-belief, I've designed a special free training to help you get it, where every day for the next 254 days, I will send you a link to an unlisted video to your email to every day shift your confidence and self-belief forward. The science says it can take up to 254 days of consecutive action to make a habit stick. And I want you to get the habit of self-confidence and self-belief. The link to join absolutely for free is in the description below.
The very first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I want to get my head right. I do this thing called priming.
You have to go build self-confidence.
You were up and dressed and ready to go before your parents were up. You know why? Because you knew something unexpected was going to happen. That's how we should live our lives. Waking up with the understanding to expect the unexpected.
Rule number 5, implement fasting.
If mitochondria are the source of aging, you threw out a couple things really fast there that we can do to protect against that or to optimize our mitochondria. What does that look like?
There's about a quadrillion mitochondria in your body, way more than there are bacteria in your gut, and way, way more than there are cells in your body. So your neurons in your brain have 15,000 mitochondria in one cell. And these things have their own little unique consciousness, cell level consciousness like a bacteria would have, very basic things that they do. But it's become this elegant dance where inside a neuron, these mitochondria will move back and forth and it'll break in half, and they do stuff that is at the very, very core of life, stuff we didn't understand 20, 30 years ago because we couldn't see it, we couldn't measure it. And one of the things that they do is they hang around even if they don't work very well. That means that if you don't provide enough stress for them, they will not go to the biologically expensive trouble of killing the weak ones and replacing them with fresh young ones.
Interesting, I didn't know that.
So it's kind of like a cell in your battery, right? You're in your Tesla, or even in your phone, there's multiple cells in your battery. And if one of the cells goes bad, the phone keeps working, doesn't charge quite as well. Two of the cells go bad, eventually enough of the cells go bad, it only holds the charge for 5 minutes, you're in the hospital, your phone's getting replaced. Well, what if there was a way to say, this cell's going wrong, let me kick that cell out and grow a fresh new cell? That's what our bodies do. And when you do things like fasting, and you just don't eat breakfast, it's not that hard, or don't eat for a couple days, when you do that, all the cells that cannot survive because they're freaking out, I don't mean your cells, I mean the cells within the cells, the mitochondria, they'll actually die through a process called autophagy. And when that happens, your body cleans out the dead ones and you grow fresh new young ones.
Rule number 6, experiment.
How did you get the idea? I think the Bulletproof coffee was the first big one that you built your business with. How did that come about, and how did that transition into the supplements and this whole movement?
Well, for 20 years I've run an anti-aging nonprofit group in Silicon Valley, and I've been learning from people 2-3 times my age who are really going out there and figuring out, here's what you can actually do. And I realized there was this whole hidden world of those people, but they didn't talk to the neuroscientists, they didn't talk to the meditation people. And as I was working on fixing my stuff, I said, all right, I'm gonna do what's not supposed to work. I'm gonna go learn meditation from the masters. And now today, you're right, I would say that's pretty cool, but one of the reasons meditation is cool today is that almost 10 years ago, I guess 8 years ago, in 2011 when I started the Bulletproof blog, no one would admit they meditated. Right. If you were an exec in Silicon Valley and you said yoga, meditation, smart drugs, you were an alien. Right. And so I put it in my LinkedIn profile. Yeah. And the idea was, I'm gonna make this stuff cool because it works. So I went to Tibet and I'm on the side of Mount Kailash. This is a 5-day 4-wheel drive in the middle of nowhere. It's the holiest mountain in the world. It's considered the Mount Olympus of Buddhists and Hindus. And 10 degrees below zero, 18,000 feet, I'm feeling like crap. That's how you're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
A little Tibetan lady gives me a bowl of yak butter tea, and I drink it, and within a minute, I'm like, my brain just turned on. I feel so good. This is unbelievable. So I came back to Silicon Valley, and I said, all right, I'm gonna buy some butter and some tea. And it tasted gross, and it didn't work. And it kind of pissed me off. Like, this can't be. Yeah. So I started experimenting with 25 different butters and all these different teas and different coffee. And I figured out, oh, the coffee usually made you crash after you drank it. And I realized there's something I can do with my coffee as well. And my very first blog post for Bulletproof was, here's how you can make Bulletproof coffee. And I hadn't launched any products yet. It was like, hey, here's how you can blend some things. Here's how you can do all these different things. And I also created this term biohacking. I created a movement around it to get the anti-aging people, the neuroscientists, the Navy SEALs, the bodybuilders, the powerlifters, the pro athletes to all talk about this common thing, including medical professionals and astronaut trainers and whatever else people were doing that was all about human performance. And I don't care if you're a sleep doctor or you're at the gym and you teach people how to put muscle on faster, you are helping people get control of their own biology. So I defined the term, I created an infographic, and I didn't trademark the term biohacking. I said, our community needs a name, this is to bring people together. And I trademarked Bulletproof. But biohacking just became a thing, and last year Merriam-Webster's added it to the dictionary as a new word in the English language, and I'm there in the definition, which is super cool. But it's now a thing, and there's millions of people who identify themselves as, I'm a biohacker. I want to control my biology, so I took it.
Rule number 7, practice cold showers.
Mitochondria, their job is to stay alive, and then their job is also to kill off the weak. So you got to stress them enough to kill off the weak.
Really?
And that process is called apoptosis. If you don't do that, you get cancer. So you want to
stress.
You want to stress them, but not too much. So it's brief periods of stress. So there's
like ice.
Ice is great.
Ice tubs or ice showers.
Yeah, just a cold shower in the morning.
Yeah.
Not a whole cold shower, because cold showers suck. Let's face
it.
Yeah, just take a hot shower at the end, turn it on cold, do it all at once, and just feel the pain for a minute. Those little guys, they're going to freak out.
That makes them stronger?
They get stronger, and
Charged
the
up.
weak ones die, right? And then you burn more calories throughout the day, your brain is clearer, and inflammation goes down. And here's the interesting thing. Every time you have inflammation, it's because your mitochondria aren't working very well. So if something makes you inflamed, it's because you damaged your battery system in the body. When things are working well, they actually change the structure of the water in your body. It's called exclusion zone water. And no one knew mitochondria could do this until a couple of years ago. Gerald Pollack figured this out, and he talked about it at the Bulletproof conference.
Wow.
So all of a sudden, you're just telling these little guys, hey, the world isn't always warm and soft and fuzzy. Maybe you should just toughen up a little bit. And then that toughness gets built into your system, and you carry it with you for the rest of the day. And so you're a little leaner, you're a little just more on point, and it cost you nothing. In fact, you saved a quarter cent on heating hot water for that last 1 minute. Like it was just a change in habit.
Rule number 8, take care of your body.
We used to think, oh, we don't know why we age. We age because of time. We age because of whatever. But it's not one thing. And it's sort of like, why does your car break? Well, is it because you didn't change the oil? You didn't put gas in the tank? You didn't change the tires? You didn't rotate the timing belt and all the other stuff you do to maintain a car? And did you do it at the right time throughout the life of the car? If you do it right, there's cars with 700,000 miles on them driving today, and there's cars in the junkyard with 70,000 miles.
Right.
I'd like this to be a 700,000 mile car. It might have a few wrinkles in the seats, but it's perfectly serviceable and it gets around under its own power. And this is doable, but only if you know the maintenance schedule. So the 7 pillars in Superhuman are about those. For each of the pillars, there's things you can do that are free, that are lifestyle-based. There's things you can do that are pretty cheap, like maybe change your diet a little bit, or take a supplement, or a small gadget, let's say. And then there are things that are based on the very cutting edge science. Some of them are frighteningly expensive, but this is what the millionaires are doing. And I went to the trouble of going out and doing as many of those as I could afford or find. And those things are in here. So here's the experience of doing it. Here's an expert. Here's my own assessment of this. And here's the results I had. And what I want people to walk away from this interview, from reading the book, just from thinking about this, aging is death by 1,000 cuts. And these 7 pillars are what are holding you up. But what if you took less cuts, they were less deep, and then you healed those cuts like Wolverine instead of just putting Band-Aids on them? You'll find that when you're old, you have a lot less scars, and you function a lot better, and actually you're not old, you just have lots of years. And that is the path that I'm on, and it's an accessible, achievable path for everyone.
Rule number 9, understand biohacking.
What would you say, biohacking, what would you define it, I guess, as? Because, a lot of people might think biohacking has to be this, crazy experiment that you do on yourself, but it could be the simple things about what you do with your sleep or small improvements that just, I guess, allow you to get more out of yourself. But how would you, I guess, define it?
It's the art and science of changing the environment around you and inside of you so that you have full control of your biology. And what that does is that means, look, the control I wanted, enough energy to have an hour commute home at the end of a day, and then have enough energy to play with my kids, take care of the house, and then go to sleep and rinse and repeat and be a good provider. Okay, that is control, because a lot of people, you come home, you're too tired, you just want to have a drink, or you just, I don't have energy to deal with my kids right now. Stuff like that, it's real. Okay, that's a level of control that a lot of people don't have that they want. Or I just want the ability to look at a cookie and not eat it. Right. This was a problem for me when I weighed 300 pounds. Like, I'm not gonna do it. And eventually the cookie wins the war against my willpower, and then I eat half the cookie, and I'm like, why am I a loser? Right? Well, I'm not a loser, that's just the voice in my head. But that thing, well, all of those are control. Or maybe you want to be the fastest in the world, or maybe you want to have a 16 pack, or whatever the thing is. Your goals can be all over the place, but the techniques, the rules, the algorithms, the things you do, they're the same.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is cut out MSG.
Things that contain MSG have to go. Yeah. And there's still a group of science trolls who say, there's no evidence that MSG is bad for you. I'm like, except for like a gazillion pieces of evidence that you chose to ignore. So MSG causes hypoglycemia. Restaurants buy spices that are 74% MSG by volume, and they are not required to be labeled as MSG. Spice extractives, paprika extract, garlic extract, a lot of the extracts and flavorings, natural flavoring sometimes. The food companies sell these in magazines and catalogs saying does not have to be labeled as MSG. They know it's MSG, but according to FDA law, actually it's probably USDA law, but 75% or above is MSG. When you eat this, or let's say you're running a restaurant, you want to make more money, put something into the food that has MSG in it that isn't labeled. Your chef can without even knowing it's in there, will be, oh no, there's no MSG, I checked the label. When people eat this, it's going, they're going to like the food because it tastes good, but they're also going to increase their order by about 30% because they're going to order more drinks because they get thirsty, and they're going to order dessert because they got hypoglycemia. Guess what hypoglycemia is? It's a lack of energy going into the inputs in the batteries in your cells.
So you feel like you need more.
Well, they start creating a panic response. It's like, give me sugar, baby. And that's where sugar cravings are coming from. So yeah, you got to not eat MSG. It's just not there.
Now I've got a very special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you get motivated, inspired, you have a 35% chance of following through. But when you get motivated, inspired, and you create a plan of action, you have a over 90% chance of following through. And when you share it with other people, it jumps to 95% chance. Your likelihood of following through. And so I want that to be you from this video. We don't just watch videos here, Believe Nation. We do something. We take action. So I want to know your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week. Leave it down in the comments below because I want to celebrate you.
If you want to do personal development, you want to meditate, you want to improve your brain, doing it on French fries doesn't work. You have to get your biology in order, because if your cells don't make energy, it's subcellular components that drive most of your felt state. And if they're running at half power, how are you going to have enough energy to wake up, have whatever you have in the morning, take care of yourself, take care of your family, your community. Oh, and I had time and energy left over to do the deep personal work to let go of a childhood thing or reach a new state of performance. No, you were too tired because your cells didn't work. So eat right and then do the meditative practice, and you'll get more results in less time.
If you want 10 amazing rules from Dr. Stephen Gundry, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
So I think one of the things that was probably one of the most controversial statements in the plant paradox was that your bad health is not your fault.